Hello, this is Susan Bonner, and we're going to work on parenting today. So parenting is a tool that helps you to animate easier, being able to grab and pull things. Here I have my character from the road crew, Biff. He's kind of he's kind of upset. Parenting, this is the show parenting view, so I'm going to click on that. And what I've done here is, this is a pre-baked character that's parented. I'm going to show you how to create a parent method with this character, Max. But basically, what we've got is every asset is linked into the main one so that I can move it along. So I'm just going to zoom in on this and show you how, just by kind of clicking through these assets. That's the cab and the exhaust for each one has its own layer. The wheels assembly, which has its own set of stuff going on inside of it, is there. And then coming off of that is the shadow and the driver wheels. So we've got passenger wheels and driver's wheels. Make sure everything's named really nicely before you start doing your parenting. And so everything, it kind of doesn't matter that this kind of comes, what looks like it might be out of order, but this is the Biff arm assembly back, which is out of the eye. There's another arm that comes out, and I'll show you kind of, it's right there right now. And it needs to be further down the timeline in the order so that it can be in the back of everything. So this is me kind of working with it in an animation sequence. I'm going to click into Biff by finding him in my library. So this is the library I've opened up, and I'm going to go to the Biff assembly green, which is his main assembly. So I'm going to double click into this. And this is where I actually did all of this parenting. The goal is to get this group of assets onto the main timeline. So this actually is already a pre-animated sequence, and we're kind of testing the multiplaning and the lighting here. The goal is to have not just Biff with his nested symbols here, but to have Biff be brought into the main timeline with his parenting. So I'll show you that also after I am done with showing you how to do parenting with this character Max. All right, so next I'm going to show you how to work on parenting after you've already created all of the imaging that's required for your character. Everything is essentially rigged and ready to go with this character Max. And right now, the way that it's set up is it's just on the main timeline like this, and everything is nested inside of him. So if I were to lock everything else except for Max, click onto one of these keyframes that's a little bit closer, double click into him, I can see that this is the Max rig. So this is, he's a fairly simple character compared to Biff. He's comprised of a roller, the roller holder, the eyes, the wheels, and the light and the shadow, things like that. So like I'll turn these on and off so you can see how it's kind of built. So starting from the base, we've got the shadow, we've got the tire on the driver's side, tire on the passenger side, the cab assembly, so that's like the cab of a pickup truck kind of thing. There's the roller, and is there even anything? So sometimes there's accessories that go onto here. So if I were to frame pick that, for example, that would be his accessory, but this isn't turned off. Okay, so then he's got a bunch of mouths, and the light top, the light and the eyes. So he's a pretty simple character. He's really fun. He's already got all the mouths built in, so if I were to pull my frame picker out here, these are all the different mouths that I can ask him to use to do some different things. So I will leave it in its neutral pose right now, this is his neutral pose. There's his nervous and a little bit of a smile, but this is his neutral pose. Okay, so that's the frame picker and how everything is kind of functioning. I actually added a different frame because I was on the wrong keyframe, so I'm just going to pull this over, and so he will be neutral all the way through. I do have one animation, which is really just moving back and forth on this large and small light. It's best to kind of not have animations in here, so I'm going to remove these. So clear the keyframe and remove the tween. I'll just clear this keyframe and remove the classic tween. Okay, there we go. So now he's just got his light just on all the time. So everything is just set up with one set. There is one thing here, which I'll just clear that frame also. Oops, Command Z. Clear keyframe, and now it'll be just like everything else. Okay, so now that it's ready to go, I will take my character and I'm going to go actually into it. So in the library, I want to find the character. So his name is Max. Everything should be alphabetical. So I'm looking for, there's like an image of Max, but here's Max Assets. I'm going to go into here. So that's the cab assembly. There should be a Max assembly, and that's him. So I'm actually going to double click into this and work outside of the environment design so that stuff's not bothering the way that I'm working. So the next thing I want to do is set up parenting. So you will be clicking on this parenting tool right here, and that helps you to kind of get going. And I'm going to now start to think about how he would need to be parented. So, all right, so there's one very important step that needs to be done before you start your parenting. Each of the rotation points, so I'm going to zoom in by hitting Z and zoom in. Each of the rotation points of each of the assets that is in the parenting needs to have the rotation point set to where you want to move it. So for example, this is the roller parts. If I hit Q for the transform, it's going to rotate at this level so it can kind of pick up, Command Z. So that it can kind of move from there and be like looking up. He's going to be like kind of taking up his front legs essentially, if he were kind of like a dog. If it was set to where it would normally be, which is in the center, it won't rotate the way that the rig is intended to be. See how it kind of breaks the feeling of it? So before any animation, it can be done after this rig is set, but it really is best to set it in the very beginning before anything else happens. So I'm going to set this here, and then I'm going to test it, see if that kind of makes sense. It might be better to take it to this location. So you might just have to check it every once in a while, or not every once in a while, but in the beginning, test it as you go through. I'm going to set it back to the neutral pose, and now it's ready to go. Anything else that has a rotation point that is specific, for example, this light is a little bit off-centered from it, and that helps it to kind of come back and forth to that one little part that I want it to come from. And if that's not centering right, then I would have to change that. And you want to get your rotation points set up all in the beginning before you start your parenting. All right. With people, we use like the torso, and then we build off of there. So I'm going to use kind of the same thing. I'm going to use, this would be his torso, the cab assembly. I'm going to build everything off of that. So this piece right here, let's see, there's a wheel. This is actually the cab assembly. That doesn't look like it moves separate, which I may want to consider moving it separate. So let me get in there. It looks like it is just a part of it. So I'm going to just go back. So this wheel, I would want it to be parented to the cab assembly. So I'm going to take this and drag it up to the cab assembly. So now you can see that these two things are parented. And what happens when we do that is when I move this wheel will come with it now, but nothing else will because nothing else is parented. Whereas previously, if I were to move this part, it would only move that part instead of the wheel also. So we're going to start to, and I can show you kind of like why we do this. Everything is separated right now. So we really want everything to kind of move together. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this light and parent, well, I'm going to parent the light rays to the light. So I'm looking for the light top would be here. This light top would be parented to the cab assembly, so et cetera, et cetera. You kind of keep doing that. This roller, the mouths should be on the roller. So let's see what these things are. We can turn things on and off to kind of test what they are. So that's called the roller parts. This roller parts, there's a couple ways you can parent. You can click in here and then choose. So I can parent it that way, or I can click and drag. So mouths all, I want to go to the roller parts. So that's another kind of build off. And the roller accessories will go to the roller parts also. Okay. And his eyes should go to this piece. Let's see what that is. So this, I clicked on it up here. Nothing's locked, so I'm able to click on it. I'm going to turn it off. So that roller part is all one part there. So I want the eyes to go to the roller parts. Click on them to find them. So it's both of them. Right now I decided that that's the way that I wanted it to go. So I'm going to take that to the roller parts. You can see that that might look confusing, but that's where they need to be in the layering. So the eyes definitely need to be on the top of everything else. So that's the way that that's set up. The light rays could actually go up above if I'm getting kind of frustrated by the way that things overlap like fishing lines when you're fly fishing or something, but it really would have been okay the other direction anyways. Oh, I see that I'm kind of making a mistake by clicking into here. So what I'm going to do is bring all of these, this is where I have been editing, and bring them back over to here. So shift click through and drag those keyframes back, and now everything is parented, hopefully. Just gonna bring it one more time back. Okay, so hopefully by me making some of these mistakes, it kind of can help you all work through and troubleshoot some of your mistakes. So the max tire, this is for when he does his jumping. That's when you'll be able to see these go. And right now, if I pull everything up, it will pull everything except for the tire, which is going to be left down. He sometimes will leave his tires there when he jumps really high. So just to show you that it's back there, Command Z, bring it all back down. Take this, turn it back on. I will turn everything to this outline mode except for the tire so that we can see it. And then I'm going to bring it to the, I might want to parent it to the other tire so that we can do some things just with the tires. And So if I move this tire, it will move this tire, but not the rest of the cab. So to show you what I mean by that, I'm going to run a little test here, which is grab everything kind of to put him up, and then I'm going to go to this asset, which is his tire, and that will bring both tires down at the same time. So that enables me to move it separately because it's the thing that has this child connected to it. But because I'm moving just this part, it allows me to be separated from the main of the rest of the character stuff. So if I did want to also move this, I can move that separately because that is separatable. You can kind of move it on a different kind of plane. So I'm going to Command Z all of that until I get everything back up the way it should go and down to there. I'm going to turn these off so I can see that everything's set up right. So good. Okay, so the max shadow should also go to the cab assembly. So I'm just going to drag that to there, and now we have a fully functioning parented character design. Why does that work? Before I showed you that when I pulled stuff, it would only pull one part, like particularly the mouths and stuff like that, so it would make it difficult to kind of work with. So now I can go start with him here in the timeline and then make a new set of frames. So insert keyframe. Now I can move him across a stage, and you can see that the whole of him moves. So I would then set classic tweens here, so he doesn't just pop. So shift clicking through, create a classic tween, and now he's going to roll across that stage. So now I can do things like animate him even more fully. So I can take him and decide that he's going to have a different mouth. So I'm going to take my frame picker out, and at this stage there was already a keyframe, so it's popping that on, so that's good. So when he gets to here, he's like, oh, he's a little bit surprised. Let's give him some surprise at something. So we want to maybe change his eyes when he gets here. So clicking into the eyes, I've already developed all these eyes. He's kind of looking at us, showing he's kind of like, oh. So I can also do something like when I get to here, and this is what's cool about parenting, is you can kind of do some squashing and stretching, or you can't do that with the other puppet method in Animate. So if I get to here and I want to create a new set of keyframes, insert keyframe, I can then hit the Q tool and do a squash and stretch of him. So Command Z. I think I want to have it go like this, and then kind of a little bit. So he's just kind of able to get a little bit more movement in him. And we can do things like run those light rays smaller and bigger, which is what they're intended to do. So from here to here, I would work on scale with this. It's got the rotation points here. So I'm just going to push that scale to here, run a classic tween here, and then we've got him kind of like running his light. So quick demo on the parenting and how that's functioning. Hope you guys found that helpful, and some of the things that you're going to be able to do once you get your parenting set up.